Hi guys, it's your girl Riveting Radiance, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. But what I wanted to talk to you about today was my abusive mother. I am going to cut her off indefinitely once and for all, and I just kind of want to sort through my feelings and my thoughts, and I figured there was no better way to do it than just making a video about it. And at this point, you know, I'm not going to be ashamed. I'm not going to hide behind closed doors or, you know, just keep it a secret anymore. I'm going to express myself. I'm going to get these things off of my chest, and that's just going to be the bottom line. I'm not in no way trying to, you know, make her appear a certain way. All I'm going to do is tell you the 100% facts, the honest to God truth. I'm not, you know, going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to use a filter. I'm going to be completely uncensored. And this video may be all over the place because there's no way that you can possibly prepare for this type of video. Just point blank period. You just can't. But I just feel like this will give me closure, and that's exactly what I need to move on with my life. So I'm going to, you can call it exposing her. I don't really give a damn what you call it. I'm just going to tell the 100% honest truth. I'm going to be transparent with you guys, and hopefully this will allow me to heal and move forward in my life, because that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to be stuck in a rut. I don't want to feel resentment and bitterness and be unhappy or depressed or sad. Like, I feel like just getting this off of my chest and just coming out with everything that's going on and explaining it to you guys. I mean, I don't owe you guys an explanation, but some of my subscribers do feel like family. They feel like, you know, I'm close with you guys. And I dislike my mom. I do not have a good relationship with her at all, not even a little bit, and I just kind of want to go over everything that she's done to me. So I made a list over the years. I don't know what I intended on doing with this list, what the purpose of this list, but they were just things that she's done that bothered me, and I just documented them and just wrote them out. So this list does not even cover even half of what she's done. Let me just say, I'm about to tell a lot of stuff about myself as well. I'm going to reveal a lot of things about myself that are like deep, dark secrets that I maybe haven't discussed with anyone. But I'm at a point in my life right now, I'm 34 years old. I really don't care what anyone thinks. I mean, it doesn't matter. Either you love me for me and you accept me unconditionally, flaws and all, or you don't. That's just the bottom line. I'm sick of trying to impress people, and, you know, I just don't want to do that anymore. So whatever I say about myself and what I've gone through, if you judge me and you look at me differently, then that's your business. I have nothing to do with that. And I'm just going down the list. This is in no particular order, and like I said, please understand this is only half of it, because honest to God, my mind has like subconsciously blocked out a lot of the trauma that I've gone through just to protect me. So at a very early age, I experimented with girls. In kindergarten, I had my first 69 with a girl named Jessica who lived across the hall from me at my apartment complex, and she was from Germany. And my mom allowed me to go outside and play, which, now that I think about it, was kind of negligent and just not attentive, because a kindergartner shouldn't be outside playing by themselves without being watched. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We were playing in the woods, and I didn't know anything about it. It was two little girls, but I just remember the girl Jessica. I don't remember what her cousin's name was. There was a brunette and a blonde. We were all in kindergarten, and me and one of the girls, we had our first 69, like I'm talking sexual 69 in the woods. And ever since then, you know, I was just into girls. I know that's a lot. That's a hard pill to swallow, right? We're right in the beginning of the video, and I'm dropping all these big bombs already. But anyway, so every little kid has played house. They've played mommy and daddy, girlfriend and boyfriend. You know, they've done things that they really shouldn't have been doing. But yeah, so I experienced my first 69 in kindergarten with a girl named Jessica, who was from Germany, who lived across the hall from me in my apartment complex. And then like I said, ever since then I had been like kind of into girls. And you know, of course, being that young, you don't know anything about being heterosexual or homosexual or bisexual or any of those things. But when I got in high school is when I revisited, you know, my sexuality. And I was thinking that maybe I was into girls. I wasn't sure. And when I went to my mom about it, she called me a dyke bitch and kicked me out of the house. You know, regardless of what your views are, whether you're Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or Catholic, I don't know all the religions. But regardless of what you are or what you believe in, you do not do something like that to your child. Your child is already scared, they're frightened, they're unsure. You know, they're coming to you for motherly advice and counsel and guidance, and you know, they feel like they should be able to trust you and that you're going to love them and accept them. They're already, you know, going through these questions and don't know where to turn or anything like that. So I went to her and she called me a dyke bitch and kicked me out. I had to go live with my best friend. And, you know, that was that. So, once I got to college, you know, I got a boyfriend, but because I was unable to explore that side of myself, you know, that's part of my sexuality or whatever the case is, I ended up cheating on him with a girl. And it was because whatever I was going through, I never really fully got to explore it. I never really got it out of my system. And I was forcing myself to date men because my mom was so opposed to it, and I really loved her and cared what she thought about me, that, you know, she made me seem like I was going to hell and I was the worst person in the world, and that, you know, she just made me feel horrible about it. So you know, even though I was trying to put on a front and make it seem like from the outside looking in that I was like heterosexual and I like guys, I still ended up cheating on him with a girl when I went to school. That probably would not have happened had I been able to get whatever it was that was going on with me out of my system at an earlier age and just kind of figure out, you know, it could have been that it was a phase and that's not really how I felt. And that once I was, you know what I mean? Like, if I were to able to actually act on it and get it out of my system, then maybe I wouldn't have been cheating on him. Or it could have been that, hey, maybe I was gay and I shouldn't have been dating a guy to begin with because I was gay or I was a lesbian or whatever the case is. But anyway, so I cheated on him or whatever. And me cheating on him made him very abusive. It made him, you know, it hurt his pride, it hurt his ego. He can't really compete with the girl because it's a whole completely different gender of a person. So that made him like abusive. So we'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, she called me a dyke bitch, she kicked me out. And you know, at this point in my life, and this is neither here nor there, I don't believe in homosexuality just because right at this point I'm a Christian. I just don't believe in it. Those are my personal beliefs and I'm entitled to those beliefs. My sister is my best friend and she is gay and I am completely accepting of her. I love her. But I just don't believe in homosexuality, and that's just the bottom black ass line. That's just what it is. You know, I don't have to explain myself to anyone. I don't have to, you know what I'm saying? That's just, these are just my personal beliefs. I have a best friend who's gay too. His name is Joey. I love him dearly, like a brother, and he knows how I feel about it. But I'm one of those people who kind of like hates the sin and not the sinner. I love Joey as a person. He's a great person. He's a good person. You know, he's actually the godfather of my daughter. So, you know, I know how to separate the two. I'm wisdom filled, I'm wise, you know, I'm intelligent, I know how to separate the two. I'm not going around here saying you are your sexuality, because he's way more than just a homosexual. He's a photographer, you know, he's so many more things. He's a dog lover, he's, you know, artistic, and there's so many other aspects to him than just his sexuality. So I don't judge people for that, but I also have the right, and I'm also entitled to my own personal beliefs, and no one can ever take that from me. And I think it would just be borderline retarded for someone to bash me for my personal beliefs. So we can be adults and we can agree to disagree. So then there was a time where I had micro braids, and I was best friends with a girl who lived across the street from my parents, and we had gotten in a falling out, and the girl lied and told my mom that I was prank calling her house, like calling and hanging up and stuff. And my mom did not believe me, and she went into a fit of rage, and she pulled out all of my edges. She grabbed my micro braids in the palm of her hand, and she pulled all her might and all her force, and she pulled out all of my edges. There were micro braids all over the place, all over the floor, on the bed, just like everywhere. And my best friend was there, and she witnessed it. It was very devastating, because my edges have not grown back since then. I've had issues with my edges ever since then. The problem is that she didn't believe me when I told her, you know, I haven't been prank calling her house. She's lying. She didn't believe me. She just automatically went in a fit of rage. And the problem with that is because she really cares about what people think. So my mom had me when she was 16 years old, and my friend who lived across the street, who told my mom that I had been prank calling her house, her parents were a lot older than my mom, and they were very like distinguished and well off, or what. My friend's dad was in the National Guard, and her mom worked at like the courthouse or something like that. And my mom really cared about what people think, like a lot. And so she was thinking, if the girl had mentioned this to her parents, what were the parents thinking of her? They were probably thinking, well, what kind of mom is she? She can't control her daughter. Her daughter's out of control. Her daughter's prank calling our house. Her daughter is harassing our daughter. You know, what kind of parenting techniques is she utilizing, or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? Like, she ultimately, at the end of the day, that's all that mattered to her. She just wanted to impress them, and she only cared about what they thought. So it just kind of looked bad on her if she had a daughter who was prank calling their daughter. You see what I'm saying? And I'm pleading and begging with you, telling you I didn't do it. Don't believe her. She's lying. She's mad at me. We had a falling out. But you do something that has like a detrimental lasting effect on me for the rest of my life. So now I don't have edges because you pulled my braids out in an act of rage over something that was that was completely not true. So that was one thing that I'll never forget. And the reason why I won't ever forget that is because every day when I look in the mirror, I don't have any edges, so I'm always reminded of that. And so it's like a flashback, you know what I'm saying? So then when I was pregnant with my daughter, she was not there for the entire pregnancy. I can count on my hand how many times I actually like saw her. And we live in the same city. She lives like minutes away from me, and she wasn't there for my very first pregnancy. It wasn't my first pregnancy, but the first pregnancy that I actually carried out. She wasn't there for that. I invited her to my daughter's second birthday. She didn't come. I invited her to my daughter's third birthday. She didn't come. She didn't come to my daughter's fourth birthday. So let's go back and talk about the pregnancy. So the abusive guy that I was with in college, I got pregnant by him, and I was like a sophomore in college, or a sophomore or a junior, and I called my mom, and the only thing she said was, you're gonna get rid of it, you're having an abortion. And she Western Union me the money, and she didn't talk about like how I felt, or if I wanted to keep the baby, or any of that. It was just either you have this abortion or you're getting cut off. I'm not going to support you at all. And at that time, you know, I wasn't working. I was just going to school, and she was in charge of paying for everything that I needed financially, whether it was tuition or just, you know, just necessities, or whatever the case is. So she was sending me the money, and I almost died. I said this in one of my other videos. First of all, she only gave me enough to get the procedure done. I didn't even have enough to pay for the anesthesia, so I was wide awake. And then afterwards, they put you in a recovery room. I was in a recliner, and there's a nurse going around checking people's vitals, and she was checking my blood pressure, and it wasn't digital or anything back then. It was just a manual pump where you go like that, and then the little needle like moves like that. And then I remember her tapping on the glass on the blood pressure cuff and saying, "This can't be right." And then so she goes over to the cabinet full of supplies, and she grabs another blood pressure cuff and she replaces it, and then she does it again, and this time she looks at it and she's like shocked or stunned, and she leaves it cuffed to my arm. She bolts out of the room, comes running back in the room with a team full of people, like anywhere between 3 and 5 people, and then they flip me over, and they don't give me a shot like how you normally do, like, or prepare you 1 2 3. They literally jab the needle down into my butt cheek, and like I'm just like, what's going on? And mind you, I'm kind of out of it because I just had this procedure done wide, completely awake. So apparently I almost died. Like, I don't know if my blood pressure was so low that it was like undetectable or whatever the case is, but I almost died. So when I got back to my dorm, and I was there by myself, no one was there with me. I got some random girl who lived in the dorm to take me there and drop me off. And then she agreed to come back and pick me up. So I was in there by myself. And then when I got back and I talked to my mom, we never discussed it. Like, she never said, "How are you feeling? Are you okay? How did it go?" The conversation was never had. It was either you get this abortion or you're cut the fuck off. And that's just the bottom line. She basically saying, "You're not going to embarrass me. What are people going to think? What are people going to say? You go off to college and get pregnant. How dare you? Blah, blah, blah." Right? So that was that. Also, that same guy, which, by the way, remember, this is the guy that's abusive and, you know, the one I got pregnant by, and that I cheated on with the girl or whatever, because I was trying to explore my sexuality, because I didn't get a chance to do that earlier on, which I don't think you should be exploring sexuality, period, like that early in life, whether you're in high school or just, you know, transitioning to college. I think there's so many other things you should be focused on, besides like, am I gay or am I straight? Like, you know, you have plenty of time to think about that later on in life. Get your education and, you know, do other things. But anyway, that guy, one time, he was abusive most of the relationship, but one time someone called the campus police, I guess because it was just so you know, just so much. Hold on, guys, this video is a lot, so I have to get something. Hold on. So anyway, someone called the campus police. The campus police came, and he had slapped me, and he slapped me so hard that he left a red handprint on my face. So the campus police called my mom to let her know what was going on with their daughter, because if I send my daughter off to college and she's in an abusive relationship getting her ass beat, I would like someone to let me know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just makes sense. So they called my mom, and we had her on speakerphone, and they were just trying to like keep her abreast and just alert her and let her know, you know, your daughter got slapped by her boyfriend, and this and this. My mom on speakerphone in front of the campus police goes, "Well, what did you do to make him slap you? I know you probably had to provoke him. What did you do? You had to do something." The campus police hung up in her face. They were so shaken up, like visibly shaken, and just so shocked. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? And they were just in disbelief. They were shocked. Just the look on their face. And they were apologizing to me. "I'm so sorry." You know what I'm saying? Like, they could not believe that a mother would say that to her daughter. No matter what I did, I didn't deserve to get hit. And they literally hung up on her, and they were just very apologetic and very sorry. And I was just like, it's okay, I'm used to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of mom that I have. But she was just like, "Well, what did you do?" Like, trying to point the blame to me as if anything that I could have possibly ever done would deserve that. No, you don't put your hands on someone. I also did not get to finish college, and I haven't told a lot of people this, but I went all the way in my senior year. I was literally 2 semesters away from graduating. I was $20,000 a year to go to the school that I went to. It was private, and my mom, she really couldn't afford it, which is not her fault, you know. But if I can't afford something, I'm not going to set my daughter up for failure and have her go anyway, knowing that I can't afford it, or that, you know, I can't pay for it. So but that's neither here nor there. I mean, she wants the best for me. It's a really great school. It's like in the top 5 historically black college and universities. It's a really, really good school. It's up there with like Howard and Spelman and, you know, Morehouse and colleges like that. So I guess she was, first of all, I'm gonna be like the first person in my family to graduate from college. No one before me has ever graduated from college. So I guess she was really excited and kind of pumped or whatever. So she was like, just go, we'll figure something out. But anyway, I went, and she just couldn't afford it. And she would just lie to people and say, we're expecting monies, they're in the mail, they're on the way, whatever. And that wasn't the case. She was just stalling and buying time. Now the issue is that my aunt told me that my grandfather, which is my mother's dad, gave her the money to pay the tuition, but it just never got paid. So I don't know how true that is, you know. Even though I dislike my mom and I'm not really feeling her or whatever the case is, I don't know how true that is, if he gave her the money. I will say that my grandfather was involved in a lot of illegal activities that paid him a lot of money. And when I would go over his house, he would have money everywhere. It would be money in the seat cushions, money in his closet, money in the drawers. They would just be in brown paper bags. I mean, he's passed away since, but he had money. Every time I would go to school, it was a new school year, he would take me on a shopping spree, and I would get a completely whole entire new wardrobe. So I can believe it. He always had money, so that's believable. But my aunt told me that he gave her the money in cash, in brown paper bags, and that she just didn't pay the tuition. She used it on her own. The reason why I feel like that could possibly be true is because when I had went off to college, she opened up so many things in my name. She opened up a credit card in my name. She opened up a house alarm system and a utility bill. So, and probably there may have been more things, but she used my credit up. She gave me bad credit. And so if she's fraudulent and being a scammer to the point where she's using her daughter's credit, then I would believe that she's a person that will also use money that was intended for my tuition for her own personal use. I mean, that's just the bottom line. People can only go by what you show them and your actions. And if that's, you know, something that you've done before in the past, I really can't put it past you. And there was a time where the same girl who lived across the street from my parents, who lied and said that I was prank calling her house, we went to the mall and she shoplifted. And because I was with her, I got in trouble too. Now, I got in trouble. I had to, it was a misdemeanor. I had to pay court costs, attorney fees. I had to do community service. And I got in a first offenders program, so they expunged it off my record. It never was, you know, it's not there now. It's non-existent. It's null and void. It's if it never happened. But I understand from a police point of view and a business point of view, if you're with someone you're considering an accomplice. But I told my mom I had nothing to do with it, and I swear to God on my kid's life to this day, I swear to God, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even know she was going to steal until we were right in that specific situation and she was in the process of stealing. And I told my mom that, and she didn't believe me. And that's the most humiliating thing ever, when your own mom does not believe you. And, you know, I am upset that, you know, I got punished for something that I had no control over. I had nothing to do with. I rode there with the girl in her car, and she just decided she wanted to shoplift for the thrill. Now, mind you, her parents were well off. This is the same girl who her dad was in the National Guard and her mom worked at the local courthouse or whatever. They had her at an older age, so it wasn't like they were young parents and they were struggling and trying to make ends meet, and you know, or anything like that. She did it for the thrill, just because she's very spoiled and very privileged, and you know, she just wanted to act out. Maybe it was for attention or whatever the case is, but her parents definitely had money. She always got what she wanted. She was very spoiled, very privileged, so she had no reason to steal. If anybody had a reason to steal, I probably would have had more of a reason to steal than she would. But I had nothing to do with it. And I was, as a matter of fact, I was in my university's t-shirt when I took my mug shot. But yeah, I've worked several places since then, and it's never come up. When they say they're going to expunge something, they definitely get rid of it. It's completely non-existent. Yeah, I understand the law. I know how it works. You know, I guess I was considered an accomplice or whatever the case is, even though I had no idea that she was going to do that, and I couldn't make her not do it, you know, or whatever the case is. But it's just very humiliating that your own mom doesn't believe you. My mom has been one to really care about what people think. She's been very materialistic. She's done stuff like bought a luxury car, and even though, you know, instead of being frugal and being realistic and, you know, just humble and down to earth, she really wanted to appear a certain way to people on the outside looking in. So she had bought a luxury car and couldn't even afford like the premium gas that went into it. You get what I'm saying? And so that type of stuff just really didn't sit well for me. It was like she really cared about the wrong things. She really cared about impressing people and seeming like she was just well off and things like that. That's where her priorities were. That's what she cared about. So I didn't like that. There was a time where she called the police on my dad. My dad came in a little bit later than she wanted him to, and she called the police on him, and I swear to God, she told the police that he hit her, and he didn't hit her. I remember like it was yesterday. I was standing up at the top of the stairs because my room was upstairs, and I was looking over the banister downstairs when all of this was playing out, and I was literally like holding my breath the entire time because I knew that he hadn't hit her, and she was being vindictive and manipulative and deceitful, and she was lying, and she was just saying like, yeah, he hit me, because she was so pissed because he didn't abide by her rules, and he broke curfew and didn't come in when she wanted him to. So she lied to the officer and told him that she had hit her. And the officer said, "Ma'am, I've been doing this for quite a while." I think he said he had been doing it for over a decade, and he could see right through her. He knew that she was lying. He was like, "I really should arrest you for filing a false police report and saying that this man has hit you when you know that he hasn't hit you." And he was like, "I could be out solving real crimes right now, but instead I'm here entertaining your foolishness," or whatever the case is. And he told her, he was like, "You are really willing to risk your husband being locked up, getting on probation, having to pay some sort of or having to do community service, or paying some sort of fine, or getting a record. You're really willing to do all of that just because you're mad?" I don't know what is triggered your anger or why you're mad or whatever the case is, but I know he didn't hit you or whatever. And I breathed a sigh of relief. I was just like so relieved that he did not believe her, because I was like terrified for my dad, and I didn't know, should I speak up, should I say something or not, or whatever the case is. But that was crazy. She went to that extreme because she was being so vindictive, or whatever the case is. She didn't want, you know, she was upset because he had come in later than she wanted him. There was another time where, and I was really young, and this memory is very foggy, but I do still remember it. She was in the kitchen. This is one of the first apartments that we lived in when we moved to the city, and she was in the kitchen, and she was like preparing dinner or something. She was chopping up something, like what it might have been, veggies or something. She was chopping up something on like a cutting board with a knife, and she was having a conversation back and forth with my dad, who was in the living room laying on the couch. He was like watching TV or something, and I guess the conversation went to the left, and they kind of started arguing and bickering back and forth, and she had the knife in her hand. She ended up going into the living room to confront him, and she somehow ended up stabbing him in the thigh. And I remember when the police were called, the paramedics came, whatever, and he told them that it was an accident. And I think at that point was when I was just like, wow, he must really love her or whatever, because he didn't tell on her. And so yeah, that's a really young memory. I had to be in, like, I want to say, I don't even know, I was young. I was definitely like in elementary school when that happened. And I know I was drinking wine earlier, but it doesn't travel that fast. It's not, this milk that's in my breast right now is milk that was already stored in there prior to me drinking. That wine probably won't actually go into the breast milk for a little while. And I have testing strips where you can kind of dip a testing strip into the milk, and it'll tell you if you should keep it or if you should dump it. I've been breastfeeding exclusively for 9 months, so I'm pretty much a pro at this point, and I know what to do and what not to do, and so forth and so on. So most recently, she has gotten addicted to prescription pain pills. She has an opiate addiction, and that's made things a lot worse. Hello. Hi. Hi. So everything that I said prior to now was before her opiate addiction. At this point, she's addicted. I don't know at what point she got addicted to prescription pain pills, but she's definitely addicted. So since she's been addicted, she's gotten a lot worse. Everything is magnified by 10. She's been having these, to me, they're fake. I don't believe them. If I thought there was any validity to them or any type of, sincerity, or if they were like real or whatever, I wouldn't be saying this, but honest to God, I think that they're fake. She's been having these fake seizures, and the reason why I say that is because my best friend has epilepsy. She has a seizure disorder. She's been dealing with this and battling with this all her entire life, and it has been a huge, like, big deal or whatever. And she calls my best friend and asks her, what does a seizure look like? What happens when you have a seizure? What goes on? Like, she wants details from point A to point B or whatever the case is. And she was like, I know she Googled some information, but she wanted to know firsthand from a personal perspective of someone who actually really has them or whatever the case is. And my best friend was so heartbroken and so distraught. Like, how can she play around with something like this? And the fake seizures are called pseudo seizures. There are people out there, Google it, who fake seizures. Some people do it for attention, some people do it for all different kind of reasons. Me, honest to God, like, my discernment and intuition tells me that they're fake. The reason why I think it is because of the opiate addiction is that with a seizure, she can actually fall out and hurt herself, because she's gotten to the point now where, doctors don't even want to prescribe her prescription pain pills anymore. And so now, with having a seizure, she can fall out and technically hurt herself. I know one time she said, I had a seizure and I gashed my hand open. So I had to go to the doctor, I was in so much pain. And of course, they're not going to question it if you have a gashed open hand. Now, they would question it if it seemed like self-harm. But so instead of being on suicide watch and being admitted into your local mental illness facility, so now instead of, okay, your hand is gashed open, what did you do to yourself? It's, your hand is gashed open because you had this seizure and you fell out and you cut your hand in the process. You know what I'm saying? So I figured that out on my own. Other people, they believe her, they believe the hype or whatever the case is. Me, not so much. Like, I don't have any sympathy. I know it's fake, because that's how she operates. She operates in the spirit of, like, being fraudulent and a scam artist, and just so many different things. Like, one thing that she did, the same girl that lived across the street from my parents, her parents ended up moving out of that neighborhood. The one that said I was prank calling her, the one that stole at the store and got me in trouble. Well, her parents, when all of their kids were out of the house, they retired and they ended up selling their home and they upgraded. They moved to a better neighborhood, a bigger house, or whatever the case is. So my mom did not keep in touch with her parents, the girl's parents, when they moved. But for some reason, randomly out of the blue, she found their information, their telephone number, and called them. Mind you, she hadn't talked to them in years. She called them in their new neighborhood, in their new house, and asked the mom for money. And she was like, it was for my younger brother's like application fees and, you know, college expenses and things like that. And that girl, the same one who shoplifted and got me in trouble, the same one who lied to my mom and said that I was prank calling her house, that girl called me. I don't even keep in touch with her. She moved to a whole completely different city after she graduated college. She got a job somewhere else and she relocated or whatever. So we're not even friends anymore. She called me and told me that my mom called her mom and asked for money and tried to say it was like for my youngest brother's like college tuition or application fees or whatever the case is. Sit your butt down. Sit your butt down. So she asked my ex-friend's mom for money or whatever, and then they had money, you know, they live very comfortably, they're not living paycheck to paycheck, you know what I'm saying, but the lady told her no, and then my mom goes and tries to insult her and says, oh, I guess things aren't always as though they appear, or things aren't always what they seem, basically saying, oh, you always try to act like you got it like that, but now that I'm asking you for money that can help, that could possibly help towards my son's college expenses, you don't have any money. And that was rude, and that girl was upset. She was basically like, you need to check your mama. First of all, your mom didn't keep in touch with my parents after they moved out your neighborhood. They were not friends. And how is it you're going to randomly find her information and call her out of the blue? Because see, they're older, so they still had a house phone. That's the thing. Remember I said they were a lot older than my mom, like a lot more distinguished and established and stuff. So they still had a house phone, so I guess that's easy to figure out a landline number versus someone's cell phone number. So the girl was like, yeah, you need to check your mom, because my mom called me upset. Like, it was weird, it was awkward, like, you're calling me asking me for money and you didn't even bother to keep in touch with me after I moved out of your neighborhood. And then my brother, I have a sister and two brothers. Now my brother, she recently called the police on him and got him arrested, saying that he was communicating threats. Well, let me tell you about that brother. The same thing that happened to me, where she didn't pay my tuition, and I'm not saying it was her responsibility, but that's what she said she would do. She told me to focus on my grades, and she would handle the financial aspect of it. She was so happy that I got into this prestigious university, and she was just so elated and so happy and so, you know, everything. Just focus on your school, get good grades, I'll handle the financial aspect. She did the same thing to my brother. He went away to school and ended up having to come home, did not finish, because she sold him this dream and said she was going to handle the financial aspect of it. She was unable to meet her end of the bargain, or uphold her end of the bargain, and he ended up coming back home. So now he's home living with her, and she has recently called the police on him, which is a part of her MO, because remember, she called the police on my dad before. So she's recently called the police on my brother, got him arrested for communicating threats, probably because she did something to provoke him, and he probably snapped, which most people would in that type of situation, and he probably said something that he didn't even mean, that he probably would not have acted on, and she took that as an opportunity to call the police on him. So you're getting your black son arrested in this day and age, where there is a target on young black men's back. Some white officers are looking for a reason. All you gotta do is just give them a reason and they're ready. You know what I'm saying? I would never call the police on my child. She's recently got him arrested. So that's, you know, she sold him that dream. He went away to school. He was like literally 2 semesters away from completing college as well. And now he's back at home and she's calling police on him. Just crazy. Okay, so my sister, like I said before earlier in the video, who is a lesbian, she tried to come to my mom and tell her about her sexuality as well, and my mom did the same thing to her and called her dyke bitch and kicked her out as well. So once my sister got kicked out, she never went back. So she just, at that point, she was just forced out into the real world, regardless of whether she was ready or not. She was forced out, and she just never went back, and she can attest to that. She can tell you that she's not loving and nurturing. She's very materialistic, so she would do stuff like take us to the Bahamas on a cruise, or take us to Disney World, and you know, buy us stuff. Like, I remember having sleepovers and slumber parties all the time with like stretch limousines and things like that. But she was not the type that was very nurturing and caring, like where it really mattered and it made a difference. So that's what I was looking for. I didn't want, you know, these lavish, extravagant trips. And a lot of times when she did that, she was not really prioritizing. A lot of times we would come home to like final notices and things getting turned off. I remember we went a whole winter without heat. We had to use like a stand-up like heater, one of those stand-up heaters. We had to turn the oven on and keep the oven door open. But she was doing stuff like taking us on cruises to the Bahamas and taking us to Disney World and renting stretch limos for slumber parties. But it was just like she was trying to show love with materialistic things, and really at the end of the day, what really matters is you loving me unconditionally. If I come to you and I don't know if I'm gay or if I'm straight, or you know what I'm saying, like hugs and kisses and I love you, those are the type of things that matter. And she just was not like that. She thought she could just shower us with gifts and we would feel love. Everybody in my family has pretty much cut her off. My cousin Ebony has cut her off. My cousin Tiffany has cut her off. My sister just recently confided in me and told me that she has to literally hype herself up to call my mom. She has to psych herself out. She has to tell herself like, you only get one mom, you know, call her, she's your mom, blah blah blah. And I just want to say that, you know, as far as moms are concerned, a dog can lay down and have a baby. A rat can have a baby. Just because somebody is your mother, they do not automatically get a pass by default. That's not how that works. You still need to act like a mother. So just this is how I want you guys to think about it. People who are out there who are murderers, who are molesters, who are rapers, who are abusers, who are kidnappers and everything else, they are related to somebody. They're somebody's husband, somebody's son, somebody's uncle, somebody's brother. So all the bad people out in the world, the racist people, the Nazis, the police who participate in police brutality, they're all related to somebody. So don't say, oh, just because she's your mom, she gets a free pass. I just recently read an article. There was a mom who was sexually abusing her 2-year-old because her boyfriend got off on it. He got off on that. That turned him on. You know what I mean? And she loved her boyfriend so much, she didn't want to, you know, run him away or whatever the case is. She wanted to be with him. She put that man before her daughter, and she would sexually abuse her daughter to please her boyfriend. So the Bible says that you're supposed to love and honor your mom and your dad. I need someone to explain to me, how are you supposed to love and honor somebody like that? How are you supposed to love and honor someone who will rape you for the pleasure of their boyfriend? There are people out there like that. People need to realize that just because you're a mom does not automatically make you a good person. And I need clarity on like how you're supposed to honor and love and respect and obey a parent who abuses you. My mom was mentally abusive and emotionally abusive. She has always been that way. She still is that way. I cut her off, and then I found it in my heart to try to forgive her, and I'm just like, you know what, even my relationship with her won't be the same. Maybe I should let her back in my life for the sake of my kids. But she, to me, honestly, is dangerous. She's a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. I don't know what she's capable of. I don't feel like my kids are safe being around her. I went to her one time. I had an affair in my marriage one time. We've been married for 8 years, and we've only gone through something like that once in the entire 8 years. So I had like this affair, and it was like in the earlier part of my relationship. And I went to her in confidence. I went to her to confide in her. I wanted motherly advice. I wanted, you know, some type of godly counsel, just, you know, anything. Because this was my first time being married. It was my first time going through anything as far as like being any type of infidelity in my marriage or whatever the case is. And I went to her and I'm like, Mom, I'm going through this. I'm feeling this type of way. What should I do? Please help me, blah, blah, blah. And you know what she does? one time we were going to have a family reunion, and she calls a meeting for everyone in the family to come, and she was in charge of the family reunion. She was handing out assignments and like, you're in charge of utensils, and you know, you're in charge of whatever the case is. So she got to me and I told her, I don't want to be in charge of anything. Okay, it's not that big of a deal, okay? Yeah, it might be selfish, it might be self-absorbed, or whatever the case is, like, but I was being honest and transparent. I don't want to be in charge of anything. I don't want to be in charge of buying 2-liter sodas and making sure that I get 5 of them, or whatever the case is. I just want to show up and just be at the family reunion. And I just made that very plain and clear. I wasn't disrespectful, I wasn't rude or anything. And she goes, well, did you tell everybody that you've been cheating on your husband with a guy named Michael? And I'm like, lady, what the hell? Like, I came to you in confidence. Is that what it is? In confidence or whatever? Whatever. I came to you as a mother as a daughter to a mother. I needed advice. I was distraught. I was devastated. I couldn't even believe this was happening. I couldn't even believe I was feeling that way. I can't even believe I had the urge to do it. And I come to you and that's what you do. It's like 10 people in this room. You call a meeting for the family reunion and you mad because I don't want to bring a 2-liter soda to the family reunion. So have you told everybody that you cheated on your husband with a guy named Micah? Like, who does that? That's embarrassing. It's humiliating. That's betrayal. Like, you can't be trusted. You're not loyal. Like, who does that? Who intentionally wants to hurt their daughter or betray their daughter? And like I said, this is just things that I remember. Like, I know for a fact there are things that she's done that I have blocked out of my mind. Like, it's so detrimental and so devastating and so hurtful that I just block them out for my mental sanity and my emotional stability. I cannot remember these things because if I do, it will take such a huge toll on me and just, you know what I mean, like, it will break me because, you know, what your mom does has a huge impact and a huge significance on you. So I'm just basically just getting things off my chest. I'm done with her once and for all. The thing that really broke the final straw that broke the camel's back was we're not talking really. So she told my cousin, she called my cousin crying and she was like, hey, I don't usually read the Bible, I usually just thumb through it, and then something told me to sit down and read it today, so I think I'm going to start from the beginning and just read it throughout or whatever. And I had a revelation. She told my cousin, you know, when my mom was living, because my grandmother just passed away, my mom was living, she lived a couple of minutes from me, and I never would take my kids to see her. She would never take us to see my grandmother. I would never let them like spend the night or hang out with her or whatever. And her mom, which is my grandmother, would call her and she would send her to the voicemail, or she would rush her off the phone, or she would just ignore her calls or whatever the case is. And she was just like, she just treated her really bad. And that now since she's passed, she regrets it, she feels bad. And she said that my grandmother used to always tell my mom, you're going to reap what you sow, and the same way that you treat me is the way your kids are going to treat you. Mark my words, or whatever. And she said now that we're all going through this with her, that she is just having flashbacks of her mom saying that. And she told my cousin, like, you need to tell Shanika that, you know, she's going to reap what she sow, and God is telling me to reveal this to her and let her know or whatever. And so I got upset and I sent her a text message and I told her, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and you have what you say. You speak things into existence. And I said, you will not speak that over my life. You will not speak that into existence. You have the power to speak positivity. You can say, well, I hope Shanika's relationship with her kids are great. I hope it's, you know, they're super close and it's loving. You don't say what's happening between me and you is going to happen with you and your kids. Like, and she said that it's definitely happening, and it's for sure, it's a sure thing. There's no doubt about it. There's no way around it. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do. Like, that's basically what she was saying. And, you know, I just don't like that, because you can turn a situation around. You don't have to speak negative. So I had sent her a text message and I said, Tiffany told me that you called her crying this past weekend, talking about you were frightened that I'm going to reap what I sow, and that the way I treat you is how my kids may treat me. First, that is false. I bind that in the name of Jesus, and I rebuke that and cast it down to the pits of hell in the name of Jesus. Stop being so negative and speaking ill will over my life. My relationship with my kids has nothing to do with my relationship with you. Those are two totally different circumstances. I'm not worried at all. In fact, that is the least of my worries. You want to know the difference? I would never do things like kick my daughter out and call her a dyke bitch just because she's gay. I would love her unconditionally. I would never disclose to the entire family that my daughter considered having an affair with her husband when she came to me in complete confidence about it, seeking counsel. And even to this day, you're still over there doing stuff like calling the police on your own son. My God. And you're worried about what's going on with me and my children. It sounds like to me you may want to get your house in order first. Both of your sons have been arrested within the last month. What's going on over there? I'm not sure how you even have time to concern yourself with my household. We are doing amazing over here. I try to be cordial with you, but you always turn out to be disruptive, dysfunctional, and chaotic. And at this point, you are more of a liability than an asset. And that is something I cannot have around my kids. The devil seems to be really busy around there, and I want no parts of it. So then she wrote me a text message back saying, you have the gall to pretend that you loved your sister this entire time. You literally just started even dealing with her in the last few years. She was never good enough for you, so stop pretending. Brittany and Daddy knows that, and you ain't never cared about her like no sister until recently. All the cousins know you didn't even acknowledge Brittany as your sister, but you have no choice. As far as what's going on over here, it's called life, baby doll. Like when you and Savon got in legal trouble and Brittany and Jaleesa got in trouble for shoplifting. You sweep things under the rug, baby girl. How soon you forget? How soon you forget, LOL. God said he will not be mocked. You will surely reap what you sow. It's already happening. Anyway, since you asked, I'll tell you what's going on over here. My sons are experiencing life, and they're also holding it down in college, working, and involved in their church extensively. First of all, they're not working because my youngest brother got arrested for embezzlement, which was like stealing from the job. So he clearly is fired. So he's not working. That's a lie. And see, the way she's listing these accolades is like she's trying to prove something to somebody as if I'm not her daughter and I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, who are you trying to impress? What are you trying to prove? You're lying already. What's going on over here is my sons are experiencing life. They holding it down in college and working. They're not holding shit down in college because Robbie, one of my brothers, is home right now because you guys couldn't afford to continue his education, and him being home, you've called the police on him for communicating threats. So what are you talking about? No, none of them are working, because if he got arrested, now he has a record, number one, because of you, and he's probably missing work from being arrested. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a job anymore. So what are you talking about? Extensively involved in the community and going to college? No, my younger brother, I hate to say it, but you did the same thing to me. You had me go to school, waste my time, went all the way to my senior year, couldn't finish. You did the same thing to my brother. He went pretty much all the way his senior year. Now he's at home stuck miserable with you, and he's turned into an alcoholic at this point. Every time I deal with him, I smell alcohol on his breath, and he's doing it to try to, you know, cope with what's going on over there in that house of horrors. And now you just sent my youngest brother off to college, and the same thing's probably going to happen to him. I don't want to say that's what's going to happen. I'm hoping that it doesn't. But, I mean, I guess 3 times is a charm, so maybe it'll work out this time. But I don't know. So I don't know why she's sitting up here listening on since you asked what's going on. My sons are experiencing life, and they're also holding it down in college, working, and involved in their church extensively. Like, who do you think you're sending this text message to? You're not fooling me. I'm not like, what are you talking about? So anyway, she said, I'm good, daddy's good, life's good, baby girl. I'm glad you finally stopped judging your sister for being gay. First of all, what are you talking about? You're the one who kicked her out and called her a dyke bitch. You kicked me out and called me a dyke bitch. Why would I judge her for being gay when I went through the same thing? And I tried to come to you about it. Like, what are you talking about? I would never judge somebody for going through something that I personally went through on my own as well. She said, you must not remember that you was gay with that girl named Tia that lived in our neighborhood. You were gay with that girl from Hampton. Like, just throwing low blows, like reminding me who I was gay with, as though I wasn't the one who was gay with the person. Like, what does this even have to do with anything? She said, but I guess you should put God first. After all, he's the one who sees your heart and love unconditionally, right? Since I don't like negative energy, I'm just going to go ahead and block your text. And by the way, I don't do social media, so post what you want, but I'll save you the trouble and copy all the cousins. I'll copy Aunt San and your husband Jeremy and his mom is Valjean, and to save you some time and trouble. God bless and love you in spite of all your negative lists. And she said, may I advise you that you may need to reconsider some additional professional help. I'm more than willing to accompany you with no judgment. Okay. Okay. It's okay. You okay? Dang. So I had gone to therapy, and you know, that's very taboo in the black community. A lot of people just want to pray everything away, and you know, they don't believe in seeking professional help or counsel, and I did, you know. So I had shared that with her and said that they were saying that I may have some sort of personality disorder from everything that I've gone through in my life. You know, I've gone through a lot, you know, from the gay thing to the abortion thing to being in an abusive relationship to my mom kicking me out and not believing me, you know, over certain things, and just being very abusive. She was physically abusive and emotionally abusive or whatever. So, you know, I went to therapy because, you know, I don't want any baggage. I don't want to be damaged goods. I don't want these things to spill out onto my children. And they said that, you know, I could possibly have a personality disorder because of everything, which, you know, is common. A lot of people have personality disorders. As a matter of fact, people walking around here undiagnosed right now as we speak who need help. Seek help. It's okay. But I was telling her, like, that's what they said, and that's why she said what she said. Oh, you might need to seek additional professional help. Who does that? I came to you and told you that I was feeling some type of way and I sought help, and you're gonna throw that in my face. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe you need to seek additional help, like in addition to what you've already gotten. You might need a little bit more, and I'll accompany you there too, by the way, boo, and no judgment. Like, that is, you know what? See, and that's the bullshit that I'm talking about. She also texted me and she said she feels sorry for my husband. I've stripped his strength as a man. He's just learned to tolerate me and deal with my behavior. He's become immune to it. And she said, she started saying, oh yeah, it's far beyond me pulling out your edges and exposing your past infidelities and your little secret gay life and whatever else you think I said to your sister. That was 15 years ago, and you're still allowing normal conflict to dwell in your spirit. You can't hide behind all your makeup and your wigs and your videos. She said, you're going to have to answer to God. You have some serious mental issues, so I don't hold you personally responsible. You two, please refrain from exposing my husband and my sons to your obvious mental rants. How are you going to say that when you just called the police on your son and got him arrested for communicating threats? What are you talking about exposing them to mental rants? They love me. I have had several conversations with my brother, and he does not even like her. He like, I don't understand what she's talking about. She said, I'll continue to pray for you and love you. Your children will seek their grandmother and uncles and grandfather when they're old enough. But until then, you have to live with your choices. First of all, my children are a part of my dad's life, and they are a part of my brother's life. They're just not a part of her life. So I'm not really sure what she's referencing. The last text that I sent her, I said, you are literally the worst mother imaginable. None of your kids like you. You have failed us all. Every hardship that we've ever endured was because of you. Legal trouble, homosexuality, financial hardships. Even the fact that Brittany and I were not close was your fault. You didn't raise us to be close as siblings. That's why none of us are close like other brothers and sisters. I feel sorry for your husband and your kids, including myself. It's very sickening and disturbing. Hopefully now that all the kids are out of the house, Daddy won't feel compelled to continue to stay. I hope for his sanity and his happiness he leaves. As I told you before, my relationship with my kids will be perfect. I will make sure of it. I'll make sure to do the exact opposite of everything that you've done. I don't care if you forward my text to the Pope or the President of the United States. You're the only one who cares about what everyone thinks, not me. Everyone in Raleigh, everyone knows the type of person that you are. I don't have to forward any text messages to anyone to convince anyone of anything. You even prove your horrible parenting skills by continuing to lie and say that I got in legal trouble with Savon when I specifically told you that it was Savon and not me. Do you know how humiliating it is for your own mother not to believe you? And I swear to God on my kids, I had nothing to do with her shoplifting. But being the horrible mother that you are, you never believed you never believed your own child. As far as professional help, everything that is wrong with me is because you were my mom. I would advise you to seek some professional help for your opiate addiction, addiction and all those fake seizures that you keep having. You're right, God will not be mocked, and I'm sure everything you're going through right now is showing you that. That was the harshest text message I ever sent to her. I am at my breaking point with her. She's done so many things to me, and I still allow her to be in my kid's life. Like for my daughter, when I was pregnant with my daughter, she was like, are you sure you want to get pregnant by your husband? Doesn't he have like retardation running through his family? Isn't his family members like disabled and slow and stuff? Because he has a brother who is like physically disabled, but he's not mentally disabled, you know. And she was like, aren't you afraid your daughter might come out retarded? Like, that's one of the reasons why she wasn't a part of my pregnancy. She didn't want to get attached to the baby while the baby was in the womb, because she was thinking for some odd reason that my baby was going to come out mentally retarded. Just because my husband's brother is physically disabled, you know, he had like water on the brain and has like a really severe limp and stuff, but he's fine. And so when the baby came out, and she was like gorgeous and beautiful and pretty hair, pretty eyes, and she wanted to be a part of her life, but just to show her off, like, hey, as a trophy, like, look at my granddaughter, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful. But she wasn't there when I needed her most. I didn't know, you know, that was like pretty much my first live pregnancy. You know, I had never gone through a pregnancy. The first time I got pregnant in college, she made me kill the baby and get rid of it. I almost died or whatever, but she wasn't there. She was just not there, and she lived a few minutes away. Like, I had so many questions and concerns, and I was scared and frightened, and she just wasn't there. You know, I would try to make lunch dates and stuff, and she always like, oh, I'm busy, or I have other plans, or I don't feel up to it. Well, there was one time I wanted to stop by, and I called my dad, answered the phone. He said it was fine, and I was like en route to the house. And I was halfway there, and she called me and was like, today's not a good day, I'm not up for it for visitors, you know, don't come over. And I had to turn around and go back home, and I was like halfway to the house or whatever. So there's times that, you know, she does stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to know, like, how am I supposed to honor and obey and respect abusive parent? You know, enough is enough. It's starting to take its toll on me. You know, I'm starting to take it out on my kids and my husband. I just want to have, you know, a sound mind and be happy, and I just don't want to deal with all of this hurt and pain and humiliation and abuse anymore. The Bible says, you know, honor your mother and your father, but I'm thinking that there has to be some sort of like exceptions to the rule. Like, what if my dad raped me every single night as a child? Like, am I supposed to grow up and honor and obey him and respect him and love him and cherish him or adore him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it can't just be that simple and cut and dry. There has to be more to it. But I don't know, guys. I just have to I'm just over it. I'm just tired. You know, I have to move on. Like, you should cut toxic people out of your life, point blank, period. You should just cut them out. And it doesn't matter what role they play in your life. If they're toxic and they're harmful and they're hurtful and they're dangerous, you have to get rid of them. You have to cut that cancer out, or it's going to spread to the rest of the body. Pretty much what this video is about is just exposing the abuse that I've had to deal with. You know, even recently when I talked to my brother, he said my mom has been getting so desperate for money to get pills and stuff like that. She went to a neighbor's house. And I've heard this from 2 people outside of my brother. Different stories similar to this one. But she went to a neighbor's house, asked her, it was an elderly lady, did she have any money? The lady was like, no, I'm on a fixed income, I don't have money. She was like, well, can you go check in your purse to make sure? The lady came back to the door and was like, all I have is like $8. And my mom was like, yeah, that'll do. And she said, I'll pay you back. And she just took the money and left. And that the lady has been coming to the house. The lady has been coming over to the house a lot asking for the money, and she would just have my brothers lie for her, saying, oh, she's asleep, or she's not here, or she's busy, or whatever the case is, and just like not paying her money back. And I want to find out who the lady is so I can go over there and pay her the $8 back and tell her I apologize for my mom. You know what I'm saying? But There's just so many people on, and I just want to heal from this. I want to move on from this, and I can't. It's difficult for me to explain to people, like when I say, "Oh, I cut my mom off. I don't deal with my mom. I don't talk to my mom." They're like, "You only get one mom," and then they think I'm the bad person. Like, why would you do that? How could you do that? You know what I mean? And it's just, at this point, I just want to make a video, reference them to the video. Hey, go check out the video. And I know once I turn this video off, I'm going to think of thousands of other things that she's done that's probably even far worse than what I've mentioned in the video. But I'm just giving you guys some examples of things that I have to continue to deal with day to day with her. And yeah, so like I said, I know this video is all over the place, and I apologize about that, but I just wanted to share with you guys what I'm going through. And I love my dad. I feel bad for him. I know that he has to take her side. He has to choose his wife, and that's fine, but I don't want her having access to me or my children or my family through any type of avenue at all, you know? And so, yeah, that's that. So, yeah, guys, leave me some comments, and just let me know what you think. Bye.